In this review, we're taking our Snode AD80 adjustable dumbbells and comparing them to Nuobells and some other popular options, but we're going to do it Gluck style, which means I've done a teardown of both of these, as I tend to do, so that we can see how they work and how durable they really are. And of course, to test those findings, I've dropped them. Probably a lot more than Snode would have liked me to. It wasn't that long ago when we didn't have a ton of options for adjustable dumbbells, and now it seems like new ones are popping up every month. And while that's good for us, it can be hard to pick the right one. So in this review, we're going to break down this dumbbell. And I do mean literally, because when I took it apart, I managed to drop it on the floor, and I didn't spend 45 minutes trying to find the pieces and put it back together for nothing. Snode's AD80s and Nuobells are some of the most popular options for good reasons. They both adjust pretty quickly and easily, although not quite the same way. They go up to 80 pounds, which covers most people's needs. And of course, all adjustable dumbbells are going to save you money and space over a full fixed set. But before we get into the inner workings of these, the drop tests, and I explain why I don't recommend Nuobells, even though they do a few things better than the AD80s, let's talk about the design and how these perform and feel versus an actual fixed dumbbell. One of the issues with many adjustable dumbbells is their size. An example of that being reps quick draws, where their 60-pound dumbbell is larger than a 100-pound fixed dumbbell, and it rivals the size of the AD80s and Nuobells at 80 pounds. With these, although they're a little bit longer than Nuobells, I don't find them to be so big that they're affecting my movements. So if we take a look at me pressing 80-pound fixed dumbbells, and then the same thing with the Snodes, you'll see there's a difference, but I still feel like I'm in a comfortable position at the top. With curls, they're good as well. I don't really have to exaggerate my motion to supinate, and although I don't particularly like having jingly dangly things above my face during a workout, or ever, I still have plenty of space to do dumbbell pullovers. So the size hasn't really affected me during any exercise, but that might not be the same for you, because I am like super huge, maybe the hugest, which is why I don't really mind these handles being a little thicker than what you might be used to at 35.5 millimeters in diameter, which is on the high side of what you typically see, but we're not really talking about a huge difference. The usable part of the handle is a little shorter than your typical dumbbell, but it's almost fully knurled, and the knurl is clean and grippy, even if it's maybe a little bit passive, but I like it a lot more than the almost useless knurling on these. Even though the handle on both of these extends outward because of the adjustment mechanisms, I find them to be well balanced and feel similar to an actual dumbbell. That being said, I've got a few caveats, as my bad dangling joke alluded to earlier. I've already pulled these out of the cradle, and you'll see there's a little bit of slack or play between the plates. And that's true of all dovetail style adjustable dumbbells. You need some clearance between the components, or as you try to slide them back into the cradle, it won't easily go back in. And that's the last thing you're going to want to deal with after a hard set. So yes, there's some play, but a lot less than reps quick draws. So it's not really a complaint to me with the Snode AD80s, and unless you're really going overboard, I doubt you'd ever notice. I mentioned earlier they're very easy to adjust, and I like the system and mechanisms they've created to change your weight increments. You just turn the adjustment dial on the handle and can easily see the weight increment through the little window. Both of these, though, do have to be docked to change the weight, which isn't the most convenient thing. If I pick these up and walk over to do a set of curls, because I'm always trying to fit 47 clips of me curling into each video, and then I want to do a drop set, I've got to walk back to the cradle to adjust them. That's not something you're going to have to do with power blocks or reps quick draws, but every adjustable dumbbell is going to have its own set of quirks. Changing the weight increments on these is functionally similar, but they differ in how they're put together, which in my opinion is one of the biggest factors you should consider if you're thinking about getting one. But I'll show you why that matters in a minute. Before we get there, we should talk about a few other differences between them. A big advantage Nuobell has over Snode is that they start at 5 pounds and then adjust in 5-pound increments. So 5, 10, 15, and so on. But the downside of that is you've got to really crank this thing to get from one extreme to the other. That being said, it's still better than the 8080s where you start at 10 pounds and then jump 10 pounds at a time. With Winnie on lateral raises, for example, 10 pounds is already a lot, and then to jump to 20 is just not going to happen. Now, Snode does make magnetic weight plates that you pop on to get smaller weight increments, but for some reason they really didn't seem to want to send them to me, which makes me wonder if they're working on a better system. But I've been using my Microgains magnetic weight plates, which should be releasing soon, which means this is when I really discreetly mention my discount code, which saves you 10% on everything over there. And since we're conveniently on the topic, if you enjoy our content and like how I constantly try to break things, as you'll see in a minute, then please use our affiliate links if you decide to buy something, as the company will send us a small commission at no cost to you, which is how I managed to fund my reckless behavior. Anyway, these, like Snode's magnets, add another step to using the dumbbell, because you have to set the weight, pull it out of the cradle, and then put on your magnets, but they stick on well, and although you might have to search for them after a drop, I think they're pretty cool because they also work with a barbell. Magnetic plate add-ons are a workaround for sure and not ideal, but I still take these over Nuobells because this design to me is just too fragile. The head of this dumbbell is held on with 4 little screws that go about a ½ inch into the plastic housing, and a lot of the internals of this are plastic as well. To me, it's just too fragile a design. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going around performing a dramatic celebratory dance after every set, but I'm not endorsing a dumbbell that can't withstand a normal drop after a set. What, I have to awkwardly curl and baby them back to the ground every single time? What if I tweak something during a set? Sure, that's probably the worst acting you've ever seen, but seriously, if something happens, you want to be worried about your dumbbell? Now, luckily, I was sent these for free, so I really don't care what happens to them, and since everyone seems to like my dramatic drop montages, I drop these things a lot. And I even did some super scientific drop tests at different heights and angles to test Snode's claim of them being drop-proof up to 32 inches and at any angle. But drops are only half the story. You can't really tell how durable something like this is without taking it apart. So I fully disassembled them to see exactly how they work and how they're made. These both work off of a similar concept. The plates connect together with a dovetail joint, though Snode's is entirely cast iron, whereas Nuobell uses a plastic joint. When you rotate the adjustment mechanisms by spinning the handle on Nuobells or the dial on Snode's, an aluminum rod telescopes out of the handle, locking the plates together. Where they differ is that Nuobell's build is much more complex and uses a lot more plastic, not only on the outside, but with the internal mechanisms as well, and that's where my durability concerns come in. Snode uses plastic as well, but not in a way where it compromises the durability as drastically. The 8080s use 3 long bolts to attach the head to the handle, essentially sandwiching all the internals between iron components. The adjustment ring, gear housing, and internal gears are plastic, but they're using nylon, which is a stiff, durable, wear-resistant plastic, and probably the best choice here, as metal gearing would have really cranked up the price and might not have added much durability. The 8080s are actually a fairly simple design. When you turn the adjustment ring, you're spinning gears, which pushes or pulls the aluminum rod. That rod sits inside a plastic inner sleeve that guides it as you adjust the increments. That's pretty much it. And while it might look complicated, it's fairly straightforward, and that's important because 1, it means you'll be able to repair them if something were to happen. And I think most people, regardless of mechanical ability, could manage to swap components and fix these. And 2, Snode will sell or send you replacement parts if something were to happen. They've actually designed these to be repairable, which is the opposite of Nuobell, where there's no part availability, and even if you could manage to disassemble them, it's a very complex design, making it incredibly hard, if not impossible, to service them. That's why if something were to happen, the entire handle has to be replaced, but don't worry, they'll sell you a new one. So what does that all boil down to? There's no denying the Nuobells are more user-friendly with their integrated 5-pound increments, and the 8080s definitely have their own set of quirks, but I can't recommend a piece of gym equipment that can be rendered completely useless during normal use or if it were to accidentally roll off your bench. I think at minimum you should be able to at least lightly drop your dumbbells at the end of a set. Now, I've been pretty brutal to these 8080s and they're still working. Are they going to be as durable as something like Rep's quick draw dumbbells, where the build is almost entirely metal and the internal mechanisms are even simpler, or Iron Master's quick locks, where it's essentially an improved upon loadable dumbbell handle that can go really heavy? No, but there's no perfect adjustable dumbbell. They all have their trade-offs, and these are pretty good as long as you know theirs. They're very well packaged, so they should arrive in great shape. The instructions are clear and probably unnecessary. Assembly really couldn't be simpler. Nothing sticks out of the plates far enough to bother your thighs if you're kicking them up or setting them down onto your legs, and they're well balanced and feel like a fixed dumbbell. Sure, I don't love having to use the cradle to adjust them, but that's true of both of these, and it would probably be easier to adjust them if I owned the stand they make for them, but as I mentioned before, the biggest factor to me is their builds and durability. Even the cradle of the 8080s is fully cast iron versus Nuobells being mostly plastic. They're priced similarly, both imported, and max out at 80 pounds, which isn't going to work for some of you, but Rep is coming out with a pair of 120-pound adjustables that we'll be reviewing, so subscribe for that one. If there's other adjustable dumbbells you want us to check out, then let us know in the comments. Check out this playlist here to see our other adjustable dumbbell reviews. Thanks to our patrons, and thanks for watching.